Good evening, good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're in, and welcome to another fabulous Monday Night Magic with your favorite Epigenetic Geeks, the amazing Ken Close, Epigeneer, and myself, Lori Falk. We are thrilled to be here with you this evening as we talk about balancing the autonomic nervous system. That's a mouthful, but it's important. You know, we live in times right now that out there, out in the outer world, there's a little bit of chaos going on. And what we want to talk about is how do we manage that? How do we keep that in out there and keep this centered and balanced? So those of you who know me know that I love angels. And why don't we start tonight with our angel of harmony? She has a wonderful message that I believe will set the tone for what we're about to embark upon this evening. So the angel of harmony's message to us: a harmonious and carefree state of being is highly sought after, yet so often it eludes us. The obvious question is why? According to the angel of harmony, a state of harmony is fairly simple to achieve if we will simply detach from the drama that surrounds us. It's everywhere, in our families, in our places of employment, and certainly in the news. We must remember that whatever's going on at any moment in time is just a snapshot of that moment. It doesn't necessarily represent what went on before, nor is it necessarily indicative of what is to come. When we look at it this way, it's much easier to detach from the situation, take a step back, and conjure up a more positive end result. This positive focus will help us eliminate worry and manifest our preferred outcome. We have the control, you guys. We really do. We have the control. We don't have to give it away. And listening to the news and buying into all the things that the media feeds us and all the stuff going on out there in the world isn't helpful. It's not helpful at all. So what we want to share with you tonight is how to really balance that autonomic nervous system, how to keep it in check, and why it's so important. And you guys are so lucky. Those of you that are here tonight, you should just thank your lucky stars, thank your hearts that you showed up tonight, because I actually convinced my co-host to let you have a peek into Aura Effect, which is the project that he's been working on for the longest time. And Ken, tell us why, since I've had the sneak preview ahead of this preview, why did you pick the autonomic nervous system as the baseline of the entire Aura Effect system?
That's a great question, Lori. And by the way, you know, that Harmony Angel, if we use that platform as a very substantial foundation for the truth of how we build these bodies, the things on the outside need not influence the things on the inside. They need not. But we have this filtering mechanism, these senses, what we see, taste, touch, smell, that gives content to the internal analysis engine. And all of that is tied into essentially like the circuitry of you, right? The autonomic nervous system, the reason I chose that is because it is an unconscious, subconscious, non-conscious system that keeps you alive. It is your life's force magic wand, I guess you might say, the orchestra leader, right, of every cell and every system within your body to keep you functional. So we're going to do a little, we're going to do some experiments tonight, which I think is really super fun. I like to experiment. And one of the experiments, what I'd like you guys to do, hopefully you guys got a piece of paper and a pen somewhere nearby, because I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you, how stressed or not stressed do you think you are right now? I mean, do you feel like you're in a relaxed state? Do you feel like you're in balance? I just want you to kind of think about that for a second, and write down, yes, I feel like I'm in balance, or I'm not in balance, or I feel stressed out right now, that kind of thing. The reason I'm asking that is because heart rate has a big, I guess, a good window to the way that our system is working, right? The faster the heart rate, typically the more demand that the system is placing on that pump, right? Sometimes it's just because you're running, right? You're exercising, you're physically doing something that requires more oxygen to the cells within your system, right? The muscles need nutrients to operate and function. The cells need oxygen to be able to be vital and useful. But sometimes your heart rate is high and you're not doing anything. You're just sitting there, seemingly relaxed, right? Enjoying a sunset, maybe sitting on a beach or something, but the heart rate is still high. So we're going to do a little experiment. I'm going to, some of you guys already know this, but how to take your pulse. We're going to do a little quick reading of our pulse. Now, some of you guys may even have devices, right? Maybe a smartwatch of some sort that takes your heart rate. That's great too. So, but I want you to do is I want you to think about right now, just in this state, what do you think your heart rate is about right now? Right? What do you think it is? I mean, if you're familiar with your resting heart rate, you're familiar with high heart rates, low heart rates. A heart rate is essentially a measurement in time. It's beats per minute, or BPM. Somewhere, the relaxed state might be in the 60s, 70s. The exercise state might be in the 120s. Just depends. It varies. But what do you think your heart rate is right now? Just write it down. Write it down, because I don't want you guys to be able to say, we're going to do a test. I want you to write down where you think you are now. This is important, where you think you are now. And then we're going to take a peek, just a quick snapshot of where you are. Okay, everybody got that down? Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick little time. I'm going to pull up a stopwatch. And so I want everybody to find your heart rate. Now you can find it either right here on your wrist or your carotid artery, right behind the ear. You can find a pulse. Just feel for a little sensation, just a little thump, thump, thump. If you can find it there, that's great. If you need to find it here, it's okay too. The best way to do that is to take and go back of palm to back of palm. Take the pointer and index finger, or even the middle finger and the ring finger, wrap it around just below the bone of your thumb. And you're basically touching a little space right there. You should feel a little thump, 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 thump. Try to find that. Everybody find the rhythm. Okay. Everybody find that rhythm. And what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to say begin. And when I say begin, you're just going to count 1, 2, the thumps. Okay. The 1, 2. So you're just going to count those. And then I'm going to say stop. Okay. So I'll say start. You count that out. And then I'll say stop. And I'm going to have you write that down. Everybody ready? All right. Here we go. Ready, set, start. And stop. Okay. So write down your number. Everybody write down your number. And then we're going to take that number and we're going to multiply it by 6. All right. Feel free to share in the chat. There's no right or wrong answer here, guys. There's no good or bad or right or wrong. We're just going to write this all down. Okay. So Chandra wrote 68. Good job. Nice. I like it. So
That was for guess. She put
that was
that.
your guess. So you counted 5 beats in that 10-second interval. So 5 times 6 is definitely 30, but 30 beats per minute is probably really low. I would guess that you're sleeping. So 70, 78. Good job, you guys. Nice. Okay, 84, 72, 78. I love it. And like I said, there is no right or wrong. It's just information, because we want to try to do a little snapshot in this present moment of where are we, right? What's going on in our body right now? And if we're not sure, mine was 73. By the way, I was hiking a half point right there. So we don't know. Oftentimes we don't really know. And the autonomic nervous system helps us to regulate certain functions, including heart rate. So some of the other things that the autonomic nervous system works with is blood pressure regulation, okay? Respiration, our breath, our breathing, our digestion, our excretion systems, certain things around arousal, pupil dilations, all kinds of different things that blood pressure, or I'm sorry, that our autonomic nervous system regulates. Another one is called what we know of as vasodilation. Vasodilation is how our entire vascular system expands and contracts based on load. So in other words, if you're walking along on flat level ground, and all of a sudden you start going uphill, right? You have to, there's a bigger demand on the body. And look at your blood, your entire cardiovascular system as a closed loop hydraulic system. And if we were to constrict any part of that hydraulic system, the pressure would go up, right? And if you were to expand any part of that system, the pressure would go down. So there's where we're looking at blood pressure. And the cardiovascular vasodilation helps to regulate blood pressure. So in other words, the load goes up. Instead of your blood pressure racing up through the moon, then your arteries and blood passages expand. They get bigger, right? And that's important. And we'll talk about a little bit more about that later on down the road. But when we're in the autonomic nervous system has 2 main states of being. It's called the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, right? Sympathetic meaning fight or flight, or even, now don't make that bad. But when we say fight or flight, it's like I'm running for somebody or I'm fighting somebody. It's like, no, not necessarily. It is a system in which your senses and your systems become more acute, right? We want to increase the vasodilation. We want to increase blood flow to the systems, the muscles. We want to increase acuity, our senses, so that we can be aware and be ready. This also happens, by the way, folks, when you're learning, right? This is unknown. When we're in the unknown, right? The sympathetic nervous system is on because you're learning new information, and the body and the mind, should say the mind, is not sure if this is safe or not safe, right? You're learning new stuff. You're like tasking the mental state to perform. And so you wind up in that sympathetic nervous system. And the other side of that coin is the parasympathetic, right? This is the part of the system in which our body is repairing, typically engaged when we're sleeping, when we're at rest. And so the body is repairing at that point. And the mother load, over 60%, 64% of your repair, recovery, and growth happens during the midnight and 2 a.m. circadian rhythm. It's when you're asleep. But what's required here is not just asleep, but also in deep sleep. The majority of your healing happens right there. And so remember, it's midnight to 2 a.m. in your circadian rhythm, wherever you live. That's how many of you guys stay up late. Maybe you're doing stuff, I don't know. It just happens sometimes. Well, the problem with that is that you're starting to shorten this very effective repair, recovery, and growth cycle that your body's naturally wanting to take part of. So that parasympathetic system, we can tell pretty much where we are by our heart rate. So the typical parasympathetic heart rate system engagement is between about 60 and 75 beats per minute. 60 to 75 beats per minute, right? So that's when we know we're in that parasympathetic rest and digest repair state. All right. Now, there's other factors that determine, how our heart performs, but that's kind of some standardization. So if you thought that you were at rest and digest, but yet your heart rate might have been, in the upper 70s or 80s, you might still be in a bit of that fight or flight. Okay. So the reason I'm telling you all this, the reason I'm wanting to go through all this right now is because human beings have normalized such a high state of stress that we aren't even really aware that we're tasking the body and pointing it towards disease. We're not really aware of that. And I want to bring awareness to that. And that's, again, what Lori and I have been doing for a while, is trying to bring awareness to how we can upregulate these healing systems and downregulate stress response. Because that right there in itself is epigenetics. That is the influence of our genetic coding based on mindset. And as you saw there, as Lori's reading about the harmony angel, detaching from much of what we've attached to up to this point in our lives, whether it be politics or religion or even some of the statistics out there around health, even detaching from what we believe is rest or stress. We need to detach from that and start learning new information. And I'm going to show you some ways that what we're doing now is we're measuring systems within the body to really know, take a snapshot of where this body is in this place and time. We've probably all heard of HRV, right? Heart rate variability. So we have the heart rate itself, which is the beats per minute. We just took that little pulse thing, that's beats per minute. But there's another measurement called heart rate variability. And every time that there is a peak in the sinus rhythm, in the ECG, right? There's a peak. When those peaks max out, okay, that's the peak of your heartbeat. And the timing between those determines your beats per minute. But the consistency of those timings from one beat to the next beat to the next beat, the perfection of that alignment is what's called HRV, or heart rate variability. So we may be seeing a heart rate of, I've seen some numbers up here, 56, 78, 65. So those are what we would call BPMs, beats per minute. All right. That's because we've taken a pulse, we've interpreted the thump, right? And then we've counted over a 10-second span. But there's instruments that actually get way more accurate than that. An ECG does this, and it takes a very clear snapshot of not just the beats per minute, but also the variations between those peaks. And sometimes instead of, say, you're at 60 beats per minute, maybe it's 59.8. The next beat might be 60.2. And then after that, it might be 60.4. It might be after that 59.7, but the average is 60, right? The closer that those beats per minute are exactly 60, that means the heart rate variability is in sync. That is a good parasympathetic nervous system engagement. And that's because the brain signaling, the triggering from the brain for the heart to make a beat, and the heart's feedback between those two, the electrical pulses between those two, are coherent. The problem is today, remember, our heart is an autonomic system. It's part of the autonomic system. It's going to beat whether you're awake or asleep, right? No matter what, it's going to beat. As long as there's life in the body, the heart's going to beat. Okay, it's going to keep you alive. It's something that's done unconsciously. It doesn't mean that the conscious you can't influence its behavior. And that's where heart rate variability gets out of whack, because the conscious you does influence its performance. It could have a heart rate variability that is really out of sync. And the reason I'm talking about a lot of this variability is because we're able to now take that ECG signal, and we're able to take what's called an alpha wave reading from it, which the alpha wave is another form of HRV that gets us a lot more content. We take that that alpha wave, and then we run it through an algorithm. It's called what's called a fast Fourier transform. It's a way of taking this signal and looking at everything from redundancy within pulsing, variations in frequency, and duration inconsistencies or consistencies. We're able to look at so many things. Like, you guys have a prism? You ever had a prism, and the sunlight goes through the prism and out comes a rainbow out the other side, right? Okay, so the light coming into the prism, the pure white light, is like the HRV signal. When it goes through the prism, aka this algorithm, or what we call the fast Fourier transform, it gives a rainbow of content out the other side. And that rainbow of content tells us everything from neural hormonal control, autonomic nervous system, from parasympathetic to sympathetic. It tells us things such as cardiovascular adaptation. I mean, it gives us 11 panels of very important and very cool content that we can then take and just use as a snapshot. Every different medical doctor out there takes a snapshot, right? You break a bone, what do they have you do? X-ray, right? They want to take a look into, right? You have some kind of a gastric upset, what do? Upper GI, lower GI, they do these tests, yes? Even things with the heart, they do these dye contrast tests. They do all kinds of looking inside of you. But when you're diagnosed with depression, what system do they look at?
Nothing.
They look inside you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They start throwing meds to see what sticks.
Exactly. They're practicing medicine on you. And so we now have a snapshot or a way of measuring your autonomic nervous system. So when you are in a depressive state, we can take a look at how your neural hormonal systems are interfacing. And with that information, we can then, let's implement something that's not chemistry, right? Let's not implement something that's going to punish the body for something it's doing, because it's regulating properly based on mental state, right? Your body is responding to things your mind is creating, and those responses are normal based on that creation. So what happens is most of the conventional model will punish the body for doing these normal things and give it chemistry to downregulate those normal systems. And then you have a side effect. So what if we were able to tap into this nervous system and take a look at some of those regulatory factors, and then implement non-invasive techniques, right? And then see how we move the needle on those readings. To me, that makes a whole lot more sense. So what I've designed, I've created, Cora Effect, is that model. It is that model in which we can take a snapshot of the autonomic nervous system. We can implement therapies that are non-invasive, such as multiple light frequency therapies, brain entrainment therapies, vibration therapies, from sonic vibration to sound vibration, sound therapies, and microcurrent therapies. And then just see how we've moved the needle. So the other cool thing about that is it's portable and it fits on a carry-on. I can take anywhere in the world, right? so I can, not only can I do the test, the analytics, but I can also implement the therapies in two different settings, one through light frequencies, the other through vibration and sound. And then watch how the autonomic nervous system restructures itself. And by the way, folks, the test takes 5 minutes. The therapies take 25 minutes. So about 30 minutes worth. We can reorganize certain things without poking you with a needle, without shoving a pill down your throat, or running you through an entire counseling process that may take years to find out any information, right? So that's the basis of what we're doing right now. And I want to show you a little bit about what this test may show you. I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll just give a couple of the indications of what we can do here. So essentially, this is the panel of information that we wind up looking from what? From a 5-minute ECG, essentially just running a couple of clamps on your wrists. We take a sampling of about 300 beats, or what we call RRs, from one repetition to another, about 300 beats. And then we run it through these algorithms that give us a lot of content. And we can see what the stress index is. In other words, what the autonomic nervous system is doing. We can take a look at some of the balances that are available there. So what I've pulled up here on the screen is, this is me, by the way. These are 2 different days that I was doing some things just to take a look at what was going on in my body. So you'll see here, and you take a look at the top of the screen, it says Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. So we want a reading between 10 and 100. I was at 90, meaning that the low frequency here shows my sympathetic nervous system. My high frequency here shows my parasympathetic, and the very low frequency shows a neural hormonal balance. So basically what this is showing me right now is telling me that I was in more of a subconscious balance, which is not bad. I don't mind being in a subconscious balance. I'm not aware of it. It's happening anyway. But if we take a look at, here's kind of some of the, gives us a little bit of a scale of what's normal, what an unconscious stress response, burnout, some serious limited stress management problems, gives us some baselines. If I take a look over here, this scale right here is essentially an overall, just a little snapshot of the autonomic nervous system's index and its balancing. This is, again, like I said, this is just me. We've got various panels that give us lots of content around how the nervous system available energy there is and how it's used. Some content around the neural hormonal regulation. We have content around brain frequencies and how the brain is functioning left, right, front, back, harmonious, interface, or out of rhythm. And you can see, just take a look here for a second. Here's May 22nd. Here's June 20th. Just because my brain is out of coherence doesn't mean I'm unhealthy. It just means that I was going through some things that day, right? There were some things going on. And if we knew that, we would know what that felt like. And if we know what it feels like, we can identify it without instrumentation, right? Without tests. But we don't know that. Most of the time, we don't even understand. Here's one that shows a very amazing hormonal harmonization. Not hormonal, but brain harmonization. So here you see on the left, my brain is pretty much in harmony. On the right, not so much. But take a
So
look
much.
look at the scale down below there. My biological age, or my chronological age, was 60. Now, this was in May. My birthday was in June, so I'm 61 now. But take a look. By the calendar, it said I was 61. But my nervous system was performing as a 41-year-old, right? But then look at what was going on here in June. Remember, my birthday was in June, so I was 61 now. But my biological age, my nervous system was acting as if I was 59. Still, I'll take a couple of years of life, right? But I like the 41 way better. And so if I can
Way better.
maintain an operation in that relaxed state, and I know what it feels like, I can duplicate that, right? Another great useful test that I like to look at is we can measure the spinal energy flow. If we can measure spinal energy flow based on algorithms, kind of a rebound algorithm system, we can see where blocks are occurring within your spinal system. And remember, the spinal column represents what? Energy centers, yeah? Chakras, right? And so if we've got blocks within certain energy centers of our body, it's going to show up right here. And look at the difference. Look at the difference from May and June, right? In May, my entire cervical and thoracic spine was in the green. Great flow, all the way even down to the tailbone, right? But the L4, L5, the lumbar, was a little bit lower flow. But yet, look at June. Oh my gosh. It was like, okay, I need to do some work here, guys. I need to do some relaxation techniques. I need to get back in balance. Again, this is just a snapshot. Doesn't mean that I'm going to live there every day, but it gives me great information about what's going on within my body. And you know that certain spinal vertebrae equate to different organs in the body, right? So everything from lungs, heart, kidney, bladder, everything. I want you to look at this one. Look at my energetic field in May versus June. I was collapsing the field. I was consuming so much energy by just maintaining self that there was no available energy for a lot of the repair projects that are necessary within my healing. Another great, I want to show you another.
Just stop for 1 minute right there. So I look at the picture on the left and I see you're emitting all these frequencies out into the world to what? Attract back amazing, incredible things. And on the right, it's like it's all closed in, like nobody could get in.
And nobody was
And I just
receiving
want to
me.
point that. Right. I just want to point that out so people can understand this has a huge impact, not just on your physicality, but on what you're creating in your world.
Exactly. The epigenetic phenomenon of your life, right? How you're creating and attracting and interfacing with the world. I'm not talking about just your immediate proximity. These signals go out globally, universally, everywhere. How do you think somebody that's across the world or someone in a very far off state all of a sudden calls you because of your thought process, right? The attractor factor of someone coming to you or something that comes to you in your life that you look at going, how in the world could that have ever come around, right? This is the way it works. If our field is collapsed because there's no energy within our spinal column, no energy or no coherence between our brain signal and heart frequency, all of this energy is being consumed. And so there's no room for healing and there's no room for attracting, right? Does that make sense? Take a look at this one. So this one here, the system monitors and measures meridians. Within our body, we have pathways, communicative pathways between organs and points in our body. You guys are familiar with acupuncture, acupressure, those kind of Chinese medicine techniques where they're actually tapping into meridians to either increase energy or decrease energy so that they can start to heal certain aspects of you. And so if you take a look at the energy of a meridian is, and you heard Laura talking about the solstice coming up, and the programs that we have available to help us ignite and align and energize organs at certain times within our circadian rhythm, right? Healy has programs for helping align this stuff, but are you measuring it to see the effectiveness? Anybody? We can now measure it. So a very important tool here to be able to measure what's going on. I think it's very critical. And you can see, again, May, pretty much all green lights. I had a couple of yellow lights here. But in June, yellow and red lights, right? Ooh, look out. So anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you guys and give you a little bit of a snapshot of what we're able to do. Nowadays, I mean, this is not new technology, but it is technology that we want to make sure that we're putting in place so that, so that we can use our other techniques more diligently and more effectively. All right. Let's
100%.
okay, so I'm going to stop share. Where is it? There we go. Okay. So we also have these devices and these techniques to be able to measure HRV, and then to see when we're in this sympathetic, parasympathetic, and this balanced state. I wear a Garmin every day, and it gives me a snapshot or gives me some moment by moment content. And the reason I do that is so that I can guess, right? Earlier, I just said, you guys, hey, okay, I want you to write down what you think your heart rate is. Do you think you're in balance? Do you think you're in relaxation and stress, whatever? And then let's actually do a test and let's see what that is. And that test is not as accurate as what we can be. But the reason I did that is to give you an understanding of where you think you're at and where you are at. Because like I said, we've normalized such high levels of stress that we are saying, well, this unhealthy state of being within the body is normal. And the truth is it's not. It's actually downregulating a lot of the healing capabilities that are available to you. And we want to start really putting the spotlight. I want to put the spotlight right on this regulatory system so that we can be aware of it and not, turn a blind eye to things. Right. So anyway, I do some measuring. I sent you a picture earlier, Lori, that was kind of a snapshot of a day. Well, actually today, right?
Right.
And when we're able to measure something and then take a look at how we're performing, this is how we become gold medalists, right? How we become a superstar in whatever we're trying to accomplish. So this is just a quick picture that was an hour and a half ago of my state of being today. And you can see there are 4 categories there. There's rest, low stress, medium stress, and high stress. And so over 11 hours in a rest state over my waking day, and 1 hour and 26 minutes in a low frequency stress response, 24 minutes in a medium, and 1 minute in a high stress response over my entire day. So what does that say? What this says is that my body is in a repair state. Even when I'm creating a budget for a very huge project, even when I'm running my children around to get to appointments on time, even when I'm planning for Monday Night Magic with my amazing host, Lori, at all times, again, it's about understanding where we are and then knowing what that feels like. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's a testament to how much you meditate. So meditation works. We know that, right?
There is a state of mind, right? So meditation or prayer, by the way, folks, when we are in prayer, and prayer has got a very wide, broadband perception. Praying doesn't mean in my book and in the work I do, doesn't mean, oh, please, please, please change this life for me. That's not what praying means. Uh, there is a difference when we are in a state of being, of gratitude, love, and joy, and thanking the divine for this present moment of life. It's a whole different prayer. It creates a whole different state of mind and being. And our autonomic nervous system reflects that. And so praying in a certain way, in a proper, I won't say proper, it is just a way in which we, everybody has their opinion. I don't want to step on any toes, but the way in which we pray that creates a state of gratitude, joy, love, and abundance is different than one pleading for change. That makes sense?
Right.
I just want to clarify that. Meditation is another way of holding a state of higher frequency vibration. And those are all the things that what I call above the belt emotions, everything from the solar plexus up, right? So love, joy, abundance, gratitude, curiosity is my hack, by the way. It's also up there. But those states sustain the energy needed for long-term building projects in your body. When we have a state of disharmony or disease in the body right now, I don't care what it is. If you're experiencing some disharmony in the body, it didn't just show up today. Well, I mean, if you burned your finger or you hit it with a hammer or whatever, you've got some impact wound or some cut, whatever, that's different. But what I'm talking about, a long-term something that's going on, it's not going to reverse itself overnight, but it can happen very quickly when we put the body into that rest and repair state for the majority of the day, much more though than it is in that stress factor. And how do you know when you're there? Right? How do you know when you're there? So this is the things that we want to talk about, and a system that I've been working on for the last, very diligently for the last 4 years. The concept came about 10 years ago, 4 years of really digging down, dialing in, and we just launched it in May of this year. So Core Effect is now a process in which we are introducing to the world, and it's a duplicatable process that it includes all healing modalities. How many of you guys are healers? How many of you are healers, right? You're included. You're included. Because when we measure the autonomic nervous system, that's just a benign, objective measurement in this present moment. What we do to encourage its change is because of you, is what you do. We bring you in through a network of connections, and then through 144 different healing modalities. And I promise you, of that list, you're probably on it. You're probably on it. Because there's so many ways to heal, but there's not infinite ways. I mean, we have these ways of healing. And there's amazing talent out there. And so we're collectively coming together.
Right. So just to be clear, everyone, the 144 modalities are not part of phase one. Let me just show you what phase one kind of looks like. That's Ken. And the bag next to him is phase one. So there's about 6 modalities in there. Is that the number?
We have, so the analytical system is in there. And we have 4 different light therapies. So if you categorize it by light therapies, vibration therapies, sound therapies, and then electromagnetic therapies, there's 4. But if you break those up into their facets, including brain entrainment, we've got about 6 in there that we can implement in different ways. So that's me on my way to, where was I headed there? I was, might have been going to Texas. I don't know.
Oh, India.
India? Okay, well, there you go. I was in India with it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Because I said, watch out, world, the healing angels are flying your way. And you had one of my angels with you. So,
Yes.
yes, I actually now have an angel in a hospital in India.
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Score.
whoop. Yeah. I took, well, so Lori and I spoke, our team spoke. It's like, okay, we need to, I want to give a gift to our host, which is the owner of this women's hospital, very sophisticated, advanced women's hospital. It's less than 2 years old. And I was invited there to demonstrate this system. And I wanted to give them a gift. It's kind of one of my love languages is gifts. But so we were talking about that, and I thought, well, what about some art, and what about Lori's art, right? And so she was like, oh my God, I would love to. And so she chose the Unity Angel because of our collective effort. And I gave that to the owner. We did a little ceremony. Lori recorded herself reading the entire definition of the Unity Angel, and the owner, she was moved. She was very emotionally moved, and we're looking forward. It's placed on the shrine with the angel and its definition, placed on the shrine in the entrance of their hospital. So, woohoo!
Very, very exciting. Because here's the thing, guys. Art, music, and prayer all balance the body, all put you into a more cohesive state of being. So art, music, and prayer.
And it's
Throw
free.
meditation.
It's
And it's free.
it's free. There's so many things we can do, from simple breath work to grounding to just observing a sunset and finding gratitude in that moment. Those things, if I was to measure your autonomic nervous system before you do those things, then you go do them, and I come back and measure you again, we can see the needle move on your health, right? And the longer you stay with that new reading of health, that new measuring stick, that new state of being, the longer you stay there, the better your body regulates and heals, and your field expands, right? And your internal systems get stronger, and we reverse the aging process. So well, here we are already at 6. I mean, we're already like almost half past the hour. My gosh.
Right. So I just wanted to point out, those of you who do have the healing, which I believe is everyone on this call, let us not forget that the watch programs really should be called heart programs. And even though we're no longer selling the watch, you have in your blue app the watch program category. And you can go in there and you can do a scan and find the imbalances that may be in your heart. And I've already talked to Jake, and I'm pleading with him to just have corporate rename that category heart instead of watch, and to keep it, because it's so valuable in helping us to regulate that very, very important part of our body. So you want to see if you've got an imbalance before you are able to get into the Quora effect system. You can use the Healy as a little hack. And speaking of hacks, Ken, go ahead, Ken.
Well, and the Healy watch does this really similar things to what a lot of the other biorhythmic measurement devices do. There's even a ring now. They're taking biorhythmic measurements. So that is your body's pulsing system. HRV is one of the very useful components to that. And it's useful in terms of taking a look at your regulatory system. Now, it's not going to give you as elaborate as a panel, a workup, as what the core effect analysis engine is doing, but it's like similar to, like, any of you guys have a scale in your bathroom or somewhere you measure your weight, right? Or somewhere you go to measure your weight. If you use the same scale over and over again, then no matter what you're doing in your life, at least it's a good benchmark for change. Yes. right? I don't recommend that you take your weight every day and all, that's not it. But if you want to look at a benchmark of your success for what you're doing outside, sometimes a scale might be what you're using as your measuring stick. But a watch with an HRV reading is a great measuring stick. And if it's the same watch, it's the same technology and the same app that's giving you the content, it's a very good measuring stick. It's consistent, right? So I highly recommend you use that. And as Lori said, these Healy watch programs took all of that biorhythmic content and then would suggest programs within that boundary, right, to align you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I just wanted to circle back. You mentioned earlier, Ken, that curiosity is your hack. And one of the things that I do all the time with my clients is I encourage them to switch the W word of worrying to the W word of wondering.
Good
Because
one.
getting into that curiosity, getting into the wondering, I wonder what if. When we worry, we're like worrying, this might happen, that might happen. When we're wondering, it's like, I wonder if this might be possible. I wonder if there's a better option. I wonder if things could get better. I wonder how things could get better. Total opposite energy.
Let me tell you a little bit about the brain from the neuroscience perspective, folks. When you worry or when you wonder, you're using the same part of your brain called the imagination. It's the exact same system, because when you worry about something, you're placing meaning on something that hasn't even happened yet, right? How many people worry about something that already happened? I mean, usually it's like, okay, it already happened. Now I have to deal with the aftermath or the consequence or the effect, right? But when we're worrying about something, 99% of the time we're worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet. This is the imagination creating a scenario that is not even true. It's the mind building a model. So no different than, can you all imagine jumping on a rocket ship right now? Strapping in, putting on your helmet, hearing the countdown, 3, 2, 1, blast off, right? Let's all jump in there. Now, the vibration of the rocket ship taking off to the moon. Can you imagine that? Right? Even though you haven't ever done it before, you could probably create some pictures or some information in the mind, and the body can start feeling some kind of content, perhaps. That's the same thing. It's the same part of the brain that is used for worry or wonder, as Lori said. And both of those models create the same state of being, because the body does not know the difference between something you're worrying about or something you're wondering about. It still builds biology to create the state of it. So to the tune of 800,000 cells per second, worry or wonder, the body will become it.
What I want.
Yay.
Absolutely.
Or
Well,
turn into worship. Yeah, I love that. Nell says worship. I love it. So in closing, folks, what did you learn? Think about what if you can bring anything away from this conversation tonight. I want you to bring away the possibility of your body under a different state of being than you may think you are. So the mind may not have a full grasp on where the body is, and that's okay. But if we start measuring things, if we start looking at things objectively, right, and then continue doing what you're doing in your life to make your life better. But if you're not seeing the needle move much, it's time to change things, right? It's really time to change things. This is what the core effect is really designed to do, is to start really moving the needle on good health and duplicate that. Phase 1 is a mobile system. Phase 2 is a brick and mortar system that may launch in your town. Again, it's like it's my intention is to build this as a global network, and incorporate all of the beautiful modalities that you folks have trained and implementing. So stay tuned.
It's going to get interesting. It's so reassuring to know that there's going to be a whole new opportunity and way to look at health and wellness, not just the traditional blood tests and the traditional x-rays and the traditional all that, but to really look at the autonomic nervous system and its impact on things. And the Quora effect, phase 1, measures where you're at, does the treatment, and then measures it again to show you the improvements. So that's pretty amazing. You don't get that when you go to the doctor. You don't get much when you go to traditional medical doctors. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion.
So I want to address something real quick here. Debbie put into the chat there that you need to get back to meditation, stopped after a brain bleed. So Debbie, when it comes to any kind of things that happen with the brain, especially when there is some kind of like a brain bleed or things like that, tone down the breath work, right? There is breath work associated with meditation, but meditation is a relaxation. And remember, folks, the definition of meditation is just to become aware. That's it. It doesn't mean that you have to do some strenuous position. Doesn't mean that you have to have your hands in a certain way. It doesn't mean any of that. It means to remove the senses from the equation, put on eye shades, listen to nonverbal music, and sit in a space of relaxation and just breathe normally, right? And allow the healing to happen. The body will naturally do it. The intelligence, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys are smart, but the intelligence is in your body, not in your mind. Believe me, it knows how to heal. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing Quora Effect with us. And thank you all for joining us tonight for Monday Night Magic. I guess I should tell you when the next one is, huh?
You guys, I'm so happy you were here, man. It lights up my heart to spend this time with you guys, and to bring everything that's happening in the world of engineering and epigeneering and the people I'm working with. The entire purpose of what I do is to share. First, it's for myself, and second, it's for everyone else, right? So that need be your philosophy. Folks, when you're learning how to heal or you're implementing a new thing, first for you, and then the rest of the world. So learn things to the extent of being able to teach it, so that this mind of yours and this body of yours can now be an example in the world that's necessary. All of us are healers and all of us are influencers. Even if you're just an influencer over one, that's important. All right. October 14th.
All right. October 14th. Absolutely, positively. We look forward to seeing you all then. Tell your friends, tell everyone, because I have a feeling we're going to come up with something even more amazing to chat about. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for your beautiful sharing your beautiful hearts and loving smiles with us. And reach out and let us know what else you want to learn, because we're here to help.
All right, you guys. Thank you so
Love
much.
you guys.
Thanks, everybody. So glad you were here. Woo-hoo.
Love you guys. Amazing. Amazing.
Love you all. All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye for now. Namaste.